This episode is brought to you by SPI Logistics, the premier freight agent logistics firm in North America. For over 40 years, SPI has been diligently building the most successful freight agent network to provide first-class relationships for our shippers, receivers, and carrier partners. We are more than another transportation network. We are a dedicated team of professionals united by one singular purpose, and that is to expedite our agents' success. All of our agents are set up for success on day one, as they are provided with a full suite of support staff that is ready to assist them with everything from after-hours emergencies to financial and administrative needs on a no-fee basis. This way, you can focus on continuing to grow your business. There is no financial risk to start, and you have the ability to earn up to 75% in commissions. If you are looking to take control of your financial future and build your business with the backing of one of the most successful logistics firms in North America, visit www.spi3pl.com to learn more. Do me a favor and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. Hey guys, before we jump into the episode, I wanted to let you know it is brought to you by Revenova, the official TMS provider for the Freight Coach. You guys, I've been a broker for a long time, and the tools that are at your disposal with Revenova help you eliminate bouncing between systems, which improves your accuracy when you are managing multiple tasks throughout your workday. Plus, it's built into the Salesforce cloud, so your CRM is fully integrated with your TMS, eliminating yet another silo. In today's day and age, you are definitely concerned about the safety of your data. With Revenova, it's fully protected. They have cutting-edge security that keeps your information safe so you can focus on what matters most, and that's growing your business. Speaking of growing your business, with Rate and Lane IQ, you get real-time pricing and route recommendations, helping you optimize costs and improve operational efficiencies, which ultimately helps you make smarter decisions. If you are like me and have recurring shipments from non-EDI customers, they have intuitive cloning features that let you easily replicate previous shipments, saving both shipper and carrier rates with just a few taps. If you are ready to learn more, visit www.revenova.com to request a demo. Just do me a favor and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Podcast, the top podcast in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines. But most importantly, you guys provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I do say that before every single show. And what I mean by that is I only speak with transportation professionals, because at the end of the day, I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve. So you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. Happy Monday, everybody. It's a holiday week. Anybody out there who's talking to anybody in the industry knows exactly what everybody is thinking today. But, you know, we're here to talk about a little bit more strategy and a little bit more on like the build out side of things. And, you know, especially in the intermodal space, it is one of those sides of the industry that I am like kind of a novice in. And I always like going out to shows. I always love learning more and more about it, because it's one of the oldest modes of transportation left in the United States right now, because let's be honest, horse and buggy is no longer a thing, at least for the majority of the people out there. And we're going to talk about that today. So I have Alyssa Norcross on the show today. She is the Group Product Manager of Intermodal at Revenova. So Alyssa, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today.
Yeah, of course. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday to you as well. And, you know, I don't know if it's as much of a happy Monday for you in particular as a Packers fan. And that was a brutal, I'll say this, Bears fans are like, they're stuck in 1985 so much that they have nothing to cheer about besides the Green Bay Packers demise. Yeah. And that's it.
Yeah, I personally feel that. I'm in Chicago, Green Bay Packer fans. I'm behind enemy lines at all times. So I've got my uncles texting me, my friends from college texting me, and they're, you know, before the game occurs, they're already talking, you know, smack, and then during the game, and then they're Bears fans, so they have limited hope. So any bad call or anything, you know, that goes wrong on the Bears side, they're immediately like, oh, good game, you know. That's the game. And then at the end, when they pulled out the win, I was getting texts. I just put my phone on silent, was like, whatever, you guys injured our quarterback. We made some bad calls, but yeah, it's not the best Monday for me, I'll tell you. I'm engaged to a Broncos fan. They also had a loss. So yeah. We're trying to just nurse our wounds a little bit and hopefully still pull it off in the playoffs, but we'll see.
No, Green Bay is going to make it to the playoffs. There's no doubt in my mind, especially because, the old faithful Aaron Rodgers just took out the Lions yesterday as well. So that's a positive step out there. But I mean, I guess, the Bears need something to hang on to because it's been, I don't know, 40 years since they've been relevant. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like they can have a game in the regular season, but, it is what it is.
Yeah, the amount of texts that I got, the dynasty is over. Now it's the torch has been passed, all of it. I'm like, all right, guys, we'll see. But
don't they have 9 wins? I don't even know. Isn't it 9 wins that they've had? This is the first time they've had it in a decade too.
And I'm not even a hater. I'm like, you guys, you look good. I'm happy for you, but leave us alone. So it's all in good fun. But yeah, it's always interesting during Christmas and the holidays. My family is very excited to talk smack, and this year will be no exception for sure.
It happens, right? I mean, I guess they got to have something to hold on to because Lord knows. I'm pretty sure I just saw recently. You should bring this up to him as well, Alyssa. And I promise we'll get into the intermodal talk. I just love ripping on Bears fans here. I believe it's going to be the Gary, Indiana Bears starting in a couple of years, right? It's not Chicago Bears are not going to be a thing anymore.
I did see that. Yeah, we'll see. They've been, and I'm in Chicago, so I do like having Soldier Field downtown, but Arlington Heights was doing the bid and now it's going to be in Indiana. So that'll be interesting to see what happens.
Exactly. Well, hey, it's honestly a good segue because Gary, Indiana, Chicago Bears, a lot of intermodal freight that runs in there, right? So let's dive into this. So the last time you and I saw each other, we were both actually at IANA out there in Long Beach. And, so for you, what was one of those big eye-opening things at that show as you're really developing this product inside of intermodal? What were some of those big kind of key takeaways from that event?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's interesting. So IANA was a great show, especially as we start to build out this product at Revenova. Obviously we've been in the industry in the TMS space for years, more for the bread and butter of the brokerage side. We moved into the LTL space, which is actually my background. Mm-hmm. So I came from a freight forwarder, and did their final mile LTL. So then came over to Revenova to help build out TMS, did a lot of LTL stuff for that initiative, and now I'm transitioning into intermodal. So for me personally, going to IANA, kind of seeing the partners in the space, it's obviously going to be different because it's a different mode of transportation than I'm going to see in an LTL in a truckload space. So kind of making those partnerships and getting those strategic conversations of what do you guys see in a day-to-day was really, really insightful for me. And then also just being able to see our customers that are currently using Revenova, and trying to, the system's flexible, which is one of our, mm-hmm. strongest selling points. But they were trying to, bend it as much as possible to do their intermodal and just kind of seeing what are their pain points, what can we really improve upon, and what are just, gaps. Mm-hmm. And so I think those two things, just getting to talk to existing customers, prospects, what is, where is from a technology space, the intermodal industry, and then just the existing customers and just really kind of drilling in on the specifics was awesome. Plus the weather was nice, which you can't complain.
I don't blame you there. And so let's talk about the technology side of things, Alyssa, because you've been developing and building tech for a while now. So what are some of those things where it's if you look at intermodal, again, one of the oldest ways to transport products in the United States out there, what was kind of one of those identifiers inside of that vertical for the transportation space in regards to technology on where it's actually at compared to other modes?
Yeah, it's been really interesting. And one of the things that I've noticed, as we're talking to prospects, we have a couple customers that are existing customers on the brokerage side that have intermodal business, predominantly a drayage rail kind of scenario. And they have in-house proprietary systems that are still AS400. And I'm a logistics brat, I like to say. So I still remember seeing my mom's computer screen when I was growing up and playing around. She worked in ocean freight basically, but it was AS400. And that was when I was, 5, 6.
Yeah.
so to see the same screens that I was seeing when I was, a child still be used today, there's just a lot of opportunity. I think, one from there, but two, it's the systems do work well.
Mhm.
So basically being able to understand the great things that those systems were built to do and that have done for years and years and years, and make sure we're not going to have our customers take a step back, but really bring them into more of the 21st century of just like the flexibility, the integrations. That's the biggest thing that we see with the AS400s. It's just systems work well for their day to day, but if they've got one of the big partners in the intermodal space is Bloom Global. They've got trailer reservations, equipment availability, rail billing. So just things that you need in order to run your day to day. Right now, a lot of our customers are having to have their ERP up and then go into these third-party systems like a Bloom. And as you know, like Revinova's main goal is to try and bring everything in-house onto the Revinova system so that we can make sure our users aren't having 15 tabs. They're not trying to consolidate information. They've got spreadsheets floating around. It's just kind of having that one command center. So I think that was one of the biggest takeaways of just the technology and where it is today. It's a lot of proprietary and just older systems that we're just trying to improve upon and really integrate the space, integrate with partners that are already in the space that are doing great jobs. So yeah, I think those are the main ones so far.
So it seems like there's, and I see this a lot on the domestic truckload side of things, Alyssa, is it's like when you go from an old school operating mentality, which transportation has historically been, and then there are emerging technologies that go up there. Do you think that there was a lot more problems solved for like in silos as opposed to kind of like an overarching thing? Because it's like if you go out there right now and you go to any technology show inside of transportation, there's a lot of great ideas and there's a lot of great product development that's going on, but it's for like a singular task. Do you think that that's one of those things that naturally happens when there's like an influx of tech inside of an old school industry? Because like this isn't just native to transportation. I'm sure we could go through any industry out there and they're going to have probably similar talking points to it.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's really interesting, and we all know it. We all are living it, right? But the logistics industry is going through one of the hardest times that we've had, in this space since, I was born, and we've kind of had these unprecedented after unprecedented events. And we're still kind of trying to get through, the freight recession as it's been coined. But I think there's been a lot of interesting tech ideas that are just kind of one-offs, as you're mentioning. And I think they're great, but it's unless they can really be like a full picture where your users are, it's just silos, and it's silos all over. So it's like tracking invisibility, unless you can actually see that when you're trying to troubleshoot, trying to actually plan out a load, especially in intermodal, like when can I tender that next piece, that next leg in your operation? If you're having to kind of check all these other systems and try and remember the information, you're definitely going to make a mistake, and we're human. So it's just trying to get that information exactly where the users are. So yeah, I think I totally agree with what you're saying and what you're seeing. And it's interesting.
Yeah, because I look at it as well, where it's like, obviously I'm a massive fan of automation. I think that there's a large component of my day that can and will and eventually be fully automated. But I look at it is if there's more solutions than there is to problems. And then again, if you take a step back from a tech side of things, if those systems aren't talking, I feel like inevitably you're creating more work for your customers, albeit probably inadvertently. But it's like, and that's the thing is we're going out there and really revolutionizing transportation, as I think it's kind of happening. You need to be very picky about what tech you want to invest in, because again, if it's a singular problem, great, that might be a thing, but like, is it going to talk to any of your other systems? And then especially when it comes down to your TMS, because your TMS is your brainchild, whether you're a brokerage, whether you're a trucking company, whether you're an intermodal company, LTL, it does not matter. Everything has to start and stop with your TMS. And there could be a lot of great products that are out there, but if they don't talk to your systems, I personally feel like as an end user, you're creating more work and more tasks onto your day.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I think like not even to get into like the things that we all know, but it's like security too. It's like if it's a one-off, you don't necessarily know where that data is then going, but you're giving your data away. And in transportation, that includes customers, that includes carriers, and that's your proprietary information that you definitely don't want to be sharing. So yeah, and I think it's I've talked to you about Revenova's initiative with Artemis, and it's an exciting one to build. And I think, we're in a tough freight market. And so being able to handle by exception and really remove kind of the very repetitive tasks, like building a load, auditing, tracking, those types of things that you can really rely on, an AI solution to do and do it well. And then have your team really handle the stuff that's like the relationships, getting those carriers. I think that's where we've got to go. And AI is here and it's not going anywhere. So like listening to customers that need it and being able to pull that and build it directly on the TMS so that the data is not going anywhere. It's right there, has been something that we want to continue building out as a team here, which means kind of figuring out a good place to fit in AI for the intermodal space. So we haven't necessarily worked that far ahead, but it's definitely something we're interested in.
I look at it because as a broker, I'm out there, I'm prospecting new business all the time. Not this week, shippers who are out there listening to the show. You won't be getting a call from me or my company this week, but I'm out there and it's like, I'm having to balance that. I got to meet my customers where they're at. And there's again, there's a lot of great stuff that's out there. But for me, it's like, it's not, at least the customers and the people that I'm talking to, it's not being asked for us to have those capabilities. And that's why it's like, I look at the execution piece that you're talking about there, Alyssa. That's why it's like, for me, that's the no-brainer tech investment that I feel like a lot of operations should be investing in is how do we automate our operations like internally more than externally? Because again, if your customers aren't asking for it, and then same thing as a broker, if my drivers aren't asking for it, if I'm adding more stuff onto their plate, are they going to want to work with me? Now, right now in the market that we're in, they might tolerate it, but if that market flips, they're going to go somewhere else. And then again, as a broker, you don't have a business unless you have trucks. Yeah. And I just look at it is it's like, that's why it's so important. If you're going to make that tech investment, that AI investment that goes on out there, I look at it from an internal side of things first. Like, how do we automate our day-to-day as much as humanly possible? Because again, if our customers aren't asking for it and that actually makes us harder to work with, is that truly a benefit?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's, and one of the benefits that we have here is a lot of our product team has come from the industry. So we all remember like being a broker, being a freight forwarder and, getting the load requests urgent, we need this to move and it's a Saturday and you're like, you're out watching the Green Bay Packers lose to the Bears and I'm answering an email being like, okay, this is the rate, and you're like, so I think some of that is really what we're trying to help so that it's just like our internal users can have, the quote quick responses. Like in LTL, you got to respond within 2 minutes. Otherwise you're going to lose the load. And so it's like being able to automate that as much as possible while your team's still on the phone talking to your carriers about, football and like how their kids are doing and actually building those relationships so that when the market does turn, they're still going to remember and be like, hey, you were there for us. You were really, kind. And, I think that's really what it is about. So how do we give and free up, your great internal teams so that they can have that time and they're not staying until 8 p.m. to do it. So yeah, definitely. Completely agree.
What are some of those things that your customers and, on the intermodal piece that, like those brokers and all those providers out there that have an intermodal thing, they're like, hey, from an automation perspective, this is what we would love to see. Have you guys been talking about that? And then is any of that stuff in development? I mean, obviously you can only say so much, but
yeah. I think definitely. It's definitely of interest to all of our, no matter the vertical. I think one of the things that they're definitely interested in is the stuff that we already have kind of on the brokerage side, but like the waterfall tendering kind of idea of, all right, we've got a group of draymen. These are our priority dray guys for this origin. We want to go through and, automatically tender. So it's, again, stuff that you already have. That's a big one. And then just rates has been something that I've spent the last, honestly 2 months just kind of digging into and understanding. And right now it's very, a very, very manual process. So either working with some great providers out there that already do kind of, what a green screens does on the brokerage side, but looking for that kind of partner on the intermodal space. So yeah, I would say rating and like tendering, carrier engagement.
Mm-hmm. Where's visibility at on the intermodal side of things, right? Because it's like, I mean, admittedly, we don't do any freight on that at all. And I know where it's at on the truckload side of things. And we always love it when a carrier is giving us, like here's the driver's link to their Samsara, and we can kind of get that real-time visibility. Is that even really a thing on the intermodal side at all? Like, or is it as soon as it's loaded up at the rail yard in Chicago, we don't know where it's actually going to, be until it's like unloaded in Los Angeles, for example?
Yeah. So it's interesting because, again, I came from an LTL background. So I would have, YRC, who's no longer a carrier, they would put stuff on the rail and it would be lost for weeks. It would just be, well, it's on the rail and, we'll give you an update when we get an update. So, and that was almost like 5 years ago. And since I've kind of taken over this role, it's really interesting to see the rails are kind of releasing that information. So we're working with a partner that I mentioned earlier, Bloom, and they have worked with the rails to improve that visibility. And it's actually been motivated large in part by just like the fraud, or not fraud, like damages or theft that you see with the rails. And so the rails are trying to improve upon that, and also just make sure people are aware of like where their freight is, and improves more similar to what we see on the full truckload side. So they're basically allowing that information via APIs. So similar to like a macro point on the truckload side, and then obviously EDI. So there's still like the rail sightings, and that's where you get like the slower, less frequent is obviously with the EDI side of things. But right now we're seeing that. And then there's a lot of great partners in the space that are doing the kind of like the in-cab device, or not in-cab, but the in container solutions where it's like a tag and that does, like moisture, temperature, and then like light sensitivity if it was opened and it shouldn't have been. So those are different, like probably in both spaces, but kind of as bled into the intermodal space.
No, I actually had a guy who I met at IANA come on my show with Bloodhound Tracking, and they have a really okay. You're familiar with them, and he was describing that product out there. I'm like, that is like a game changer for the entire industry, and like the fact that that's not as widespread adopted as it is, like it's kind of wild to me. But it's like, a lot of the stuff that you're talking about there, Alyssa, I almost wonder, like, is that still the big hesitation for a lot of shippers out there to utilize intermodal at a higher level than they currently do, right? Because it's the most cost-effective way to ship stuff at the end of the day, right? Like you can get as much bang for your buck that's out there. But again, there's a lot of concessions that you have to make with that as opposed to traditional full truckload. And then, again, it's very geographic dependent as well. If you're not within a certain mile radius of a depot, you're not going to get service out there, at least not at a consistent level that a lot of people have expected. Have you noticed are you kind of seeing that as well? Like, is there a reason why? Because it's like, again, if we look at it, everybody wants it cheaper, right? I think cheaper is going to be the baseline. Maybe they can, lean on speed a little bit. But again, it's like, if it's going to be cheaper and then it's going to take a little bit longer, like we need to know where our stuff is at any given moment.
Yeah. This is interesting. I was at Chicago Traffic Club. They do like great educational events, and then obviously the fun stuff as well. But I was at an educational event a couple of months, like probably a month ago. And we were talking about this kind of topic of just, the Amazon effect, and everyone wants to know exactly where their freight is. They want, the pictures, that instant, like, where is it? And I want to see it right now, at a drop of a hat. And, freight isn't getting any cheaper. And how do we kind of offset those costs as well as still delivering, like, the service that people are requiring? And I think having these great, like, intermodal rail drayage providers and, like, IMCs in the space who are taking the wins and the things that they've learned from the truckload side and applying that to, the intermodal side, and saying, hey, like, rail providers, if you can give us this information, then that's going to increase our ability to actually, give you X, Y, and Z loads, or, we can give you this dedicated amount of freight. So I definitely think it's going to be interesting as we see the improvement in technology in the intermodal space, how that's going to improve just the overall volume and, like, comfortability that people are going to have putting it on the rail. So we're seeing, like, improvements and just, like, more transparency on, like, rail schedules. So, hey, it's going to take 6 days for these 2 points, and really trying to, like, stick to those as much as possible. And I think that'll help of a shipper that's saying, okay, I need this hot and I need it right now, that can move air freight. But, that's something that's just going to sit in our warehouse. It's more of just like a back stock item. That could probably move via rail, and it's going to save us X, Y, and Z. And so I think it's going to take some shippers, like, some hard looks to offset some of these transportation costs. And I think intermodal is a great way to do it. And then on the technology side, one of the things we're really interested in doing is exactly what you're talking about of, hey, I've got this load. If I moved it, full truckload, what would the cost be? If I moved it LTL, what would the cost be? And if I moved it, intermodal, what would the cost be? All on one screen. So really you're saying, hey, shipper, how do you want to move that? How much, like, is it really worth to you to get it there at X day? And I think that's going to be an interesting initiative that we have, hopefully in 2026. I don't want to speak for, but I think it's something that I would have used as a freight forwarder, of just being able to see all the different modes and decide on the best option for that specific criteria.
Do you think, you brought up the Amazon effect, and I talk about that often on this show, right? Like say what you want, they do it better than anybody, like, even the photos of the packages at the front of your house every single time, you cannot beat that. Do you think that as they continue to develop, right? Because obviously Amazon's not going to just stop slowing down.
Yeah.
Do you think that is going to be a more widely requested service level when it comes to visibility and knowing? Because again, exactly when that stuff shipped, exactly where that stuff is for the most part, like in reason. Do you see that becoming the thing kind of in the intermodal space, right? Where it's like, hey, listen, Amazon gives us this ability. Why can't you give us that ability?
Yeah, and I don't have a crystal ball, so I, can't 100% confirm, but I would think so. It's just like, it just seeps in from your day to day. So it's like, I work in logistics, so I understand, like, how difficult it is, what we do every single day, and how difficult it is to have that POD document and, like, get it back into their system so that it's, visible to someone on their phone. But, like, even from my perspective, it's like when I was in LTL and I couldn't get a POD document for weeks on end, I would get so angry because I'm like, come on, it's not that hard. And so I think it's become more and more of, like, a requirement. You kind of got to do a certain level of service in order to really do business in this day and age.
Yeah, I personally think, at least from a service provider's perspective, where it's like you have to focus on speed and price more than anything. Because again, like, yes, I understand the old saying, like, oh, if you want it fast, it's not going to be cheap. If you want it cheap, it's not going to be fast, yada, yada, yada. That's just not the way it's going to be anymore. With the advancements in technology, it's going to be, you better be fast, you better be cheap, and you better be reliable, or we will find somebody who is. Because I feel like that's where automation and tech is really going to continue to push stuff as it goes. Is there ever the expectations are going to be, you have to, like, and you brought it up, like, about the personal life. Your expectations in your personal life for how you purchase stuff will inevitably affect how you decide who you want to work with in your business and everything else. Because that's the way that I look at it. And my customers, like, when we're out there and we're trying to find freight, that's the big thing, right? But then again, the operational execution will primarily supersede any cost in the for the foreseeable future. Because again, if you can't get us a POD like you brought up, if you can't tell us where our freight is, it doesn't matter what you're quoting us. We're not going to give you any of our business, right? We will go to that person who can. And I feel like that's the fine line, at least internally, that I'm always trying to come to that solution on. How can I be faster than everybody? How can I be cheaper than everybody? But how can I execute at a higher level than anybody out there, where again, they're going to look at it as like, okay, we can give them a little bit more because they don't miss on that operational excellence, because I feel like that is just going to be the expectation here coming up. I think it's already here, but I think it's going to be more widespread adopted across all modes in the coming years.
Yeah, 100%. Completely agree.
Well, Alyssa, that flew by. I told you when we were going that we were going to be out there and we're going to knock this one out. But thank you so much for your time today. How does anybody reach out to you to find out more about what you got going on?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm on LinkedIn, obviously, and then my email address, I can send it over to you. But if you're an intermodal, still on the AS 400 and you're looking to kind of see what else is out there and work with me to help build out a specific solution for your business, definitely reach out to Revenova. So yeah, nice talking with you.
No, it's great. Thank you so much for joining me. If you guys can't find Alyssa or Revenova out there at all, please hit me up. I will gladly put you guys in contact with them. But that's going to be it for today, ladies and gentlemen. As always, if you got value in what you heard and you're not subscribed, do your boy a solid. Subscribe to the show. And if you're feeling ambitious, rank it on iTunes and Spotify, because if you saw value, that's how your network's going to see it as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And we'll be talking to you soon.
Came back with a bang, window down, yelling out money, anything. Hey, ooh, got the foot on the gas, pedal to the metal when I'm get to the back. Hey, got the foot on the gas, pedal to the metal when the lane move.